Hunter, let's switch gears a little bit because you're on your third point guard in 3 years. Third point guard in 3 years. As a big guy, that is not easy because you need your point guard to get you the damn ball. The transfer portal for you, when you see it, and again, you've been somewhere, you've stayed somewhere, you've had success. What do you think when you see 1,400 plus scholarship players are in the portal right now?
Yeah, I mean, for me, I knew once I got to college, I was staying there because, my older brother, he played Division I college basketball, and he went to 4 schools in 5 years. And so for me, I knew wherever I was going, I was staying. And I mean, I understand it from a player's perspective. I got friends who, they go to one school and, the coaches gave them promises that they didn't fulfill. And, they got, certain situations happen. And so like they're trying to move on and, they got to try to find the grass greener somewhere else. But I mean, definitely I can understand where the mid-major coaches are coming from because it's like, you want your players to succeed and be great, but at a certain sense, you don't want them to be too good to where after 1 year, they're like, okay, well, I'm done with this. I want to go play at a high major. So then my numbers will actually like NBA scouts will actually, pay attention to my numbers more. Cause it's like, if you're getting 20 at mid major, it's harder because NBA scouts just don't, I guess, compare it as much. And so, I mean, it's hard, but I mean, I feel like, I mean, for me,
when you see I don't love all the movement. All the movement to me, I can't even remember who's where anymore. Where years ago, it was easy when I came, you knew who was going to be there. When Hummel's Purdue teams were there, like you knew who was going to come back. Now I can't keep track anymore. That's, I think, to me, as somebody covering the sport, very frustrating because everybody's just jumping all over the place and there's no continuity.
Yeah, no, for sure. It does feel like it's like free agency out there. And, I think that is one thing, like team chemistry wise, it's hard to get that chemistry because it's like, at least 5 people of your team are going to be brand new from recruiting high school kids or from the transfer portal. I mean, like it's so rare for a team to lose nobody in the portal nowadays because it's just like, kids want a bigger role. Like, nowadays, I guess kids are just having a tough time of really trying to buy into their role or, the development. I feel like nowadays, even on our team, like some kids are struggling to kind of stay with the process and I guess, develop under coaches. It's like 1 year, if it doesn't work, all right, I'm out. I got to go try to find someone who's going to give me that bigger role that I'm searching for.
Hunter, have you noticed that NIL has changed the locker room or even hurt the locker room? Just because now you've got, and Jeff and I were talking before, like Adrian Nunez, last year's team, he's got what, like 1 million TikTok followers, and he's making money off of it. But he also never plays. Has it changed the dynamic at all?
I wouldn't say that, for our team especially. I mean, like you said, like the guy who made the most money NIL wise, didn't even really play that much for us. And so for us, I don't think it did. Like it was, we would discuss it a little bit. I mean, you see like people wearing certain things and, you kind of ask them and you see it on Instagram. But I mean, me personally, like I don't want to, watch somebody else's pocket and ask, what they're making and stuff like that. It's just me personally. But I mean, I don't think it changes the dynamic. I feel like, it should be understood that like if you have a lot of followers and, you're successful, I feel like people should realize that, brands are going to attract towards them more than the 13th guy on the bench with 2,000 followers.
Do you think, Hunter, you're going to have more pressure on you this year? Because I know your dollar figure hasn't come out yet, and I'm not going to ask it, but we know, obviously, you're making good money this year. Is it going to mean more pressure for you? And certainly like a Nigel Pack, who's everybody knows is getting 400 grand. If he doesn't play well, right? I mean, people are going to talk about that.
I was thinking about that actually, Jeff. I mean, for me, I feel like there's always been pressure on me. I always put pressure on myself when I'm out there to be, the best player I can. And so I think dollar-wise, I don't think that'll put any more pressure on me. I think if anything, that'll relieve me. I'm like, hey, what happens, happens. But I mean, I feel like there's always pressure for me out there, especially, I know where I want to be. Eventually, I feel like I know where I want to end up, and I put pressure on myself each and every day out there to get to where I want to be. So I don't think the dollar amount that is placed on me will change that.
I just think it's fascinating because when I was in the NBA, all anybody talked about in the locker room was how much money other guys were making. And now on college teams, that could be the case too. Coach Payne, with some of the guys you had this year that had NIL deals, did you notice that was anything different, or was it much like what Hunter said, it was more of the same?
It was more of the same, and I don't think anybody was over the top at our place. I think we're still growing, even though we had a handful of guys that did things. Obviously, Zack couldn't do it, being from Toronto, and then Jaden had a few things that he did, but he didn't jump into it. He's obviously in a different position than a lot of other people. He just wanted to have a great season, and obviously we knew he was going to go into the draft. So it wasn't a whole lot different for us, but we're still growing. Like, we're still, with everything that we're doing, like, we're still growing. And, like Dana said, we're trying to adjust and try to make it work under the guidelines of everything.
Well, I wanted to ask you about that because somebody said it earlier, state by state, county by county, city by city, it can be different.
Correct.
You just went through a recruitment that's been mentioned here that was very public, ended up being a very public NIL deal. What are you allowed to do? And what is Purdue allowed to do? How do you combat this?
Yeah, well, we have a group that handles it, and through a company that has businesses that are there, 200 companies, businesses that they can, ping your guys can ping them and go into it. What, you guys really discussed earlier is that collective, and we're not there yet. And that's something where, we've had a lot of discussions. Are they going to have to get to where they cap some things at some point? Is that one of the guardrails they're going to have to be able to discuss if it gets, continues to be egregious?
How can they pay? How can they cap anything now?
I don't think they can. But just the discussions, and we had these discussions before, and obviously I don't understand, all the laws that go with everything. So you got to be careful in what you say, but just trying to adjust. Like, we went through that recruiting process and that happened. We couldn't give them a number because we're not at that point. Like, we're not at the point where you can just give a flat number to it. This is just generally speaking, but you just want in recruiting, and I recruited Hunter and did such a good job. He went to Michigan. So, but
I like y'all, Coach. I like y'all, man. Yeah, I like y'all. Don't.
There you go. I got you. I'm messing with you. They, but just like I was in his living room or whatever, I take pride in knowing how he feels because I got recruited and I played. The only thing you ever want is someone to tell you the truth and to be honest with you. So if we get you there's no surprises. And that's all you want. One of the things for me is I got some guys on our team that have helped us be really good. And giving somebody new X amount of dollars and they're not at that level, right. I'm uncomfortable with that. So we got to get that fixed because Hunter's a good example. Hunter's a productive player. So nobody looks around and says man, Hunter Dickinson's getting X amount of dollars. Hunter Dickinson's been an ass kicker for 2 years.
But they would have had right. Hunter come in with that money. They would have said that.
Yes. But he also was an ass kicker in high school.
Yes, but it's different.
But he was productive.
Correct.
See, I'm different because I don't look at talent. Obviously, he's a talented guy, but Hunter's production meets his talent level.
Totally.
If Hunter doesn't score, he can still help his team. He's competitive. He talked about feeling pressure. I think he's choosing the wrong word because pressure is something that you feel when you're not prepared. He had a great high school coach. He had a great AAU program. He's got a great family. He's at a great institution. He's made really, really good decisions, besides the Purdue thing. Really, really
Hey,
good.
Coach, y'all got a good big man too out of it. Don't worry.
No doubt. Hey, no doubt.
Got a great point. Hey.
There you go. I'm messing with you. I'm getting my jabs in early. But he's been so productive and he's always been a worker. And I just hope this doesn't leapfrog that because this is his time to be really successful and these other guys' times to be really successful. But Rob, as you know, you have you don't realize how short your window is. I think he made a really good decision. 20 years ago, some of these guys that are bigger wouldn't be making the same decision. I don't know if Zack would be making the same decision. I don't know if Hunter would be making the same decision, because the NBA was different 20 years ago. But now, you know, they have these things in place. And so now, like Hunter said, you know, it's the right, they're making the right decision for them. Like he made the right decision for him. Zachary made the right decision for himself. And so like these things, like we like that piece of it, but you're talking about two productive players. And like now you got to put things together for people that are out there on the wire, so to speak, and they haven't done anything for your program. And then maybe somebody in your program isn't quite at that level with name, image, and likeness yet on your campus. That's where the dissension's going to that's going to be tough. Now, I think with good cultures, you know, Michigan's got a good culture. I think we have a good culture. I think our locker rooms stay pretty strong because of that. Now, some places where they're moving more and they got all the changes some more, I think that's going to be a lot harder, because that, I always say about a player, like you got your family, you got your religion, you got academics, you got basketball, and then you got your social life. Anytime your social life leapfrogs any of those other ones, you're in trouble. If you're smoking or you're drinking, and that's more important than any of those things I said, trouble is coming your way, man. So you got to keep your criteria and what's important with your family, your religion, your academics, and basketball. It is so hard to be good. So now when you throw something in there, coaches are excited for guys. They people don't understand that. We want these guys to get what they deserve, but we also don't want it to take away from them having a great life. And then we're not bypassing some values in there. That's the concern for things, because I don't like the one-time transfer from the fact that the adversity of things. When adversity hits, what do? Do you buckle down and do you work and fight, or do you run? Well, if you've played on 4 AAU teams and you've been on 3 high school teams and 3 colleges, if you're 24 years old and you don't make it, and adversity hits you in the face, like, what are you going to do? Well, the only thing so far you've done is change. So we have a landscape of change. So, and Hunter talked about it a little bit, like that was the one thing he was going to do. Man, I make my decision, I am staying there. I just had a guy who fell out of our rotation come in and say, hey, I want to get a Purdue degree. I want to make this right. I had a tough time in a role, and I was just like floored by it. Like, it just kind of shows you, you know, his makeup and everything. Doesn't mean like, you know, even if he would have came in and said he was leaving, I understand why he's leaving. He fell out of the rotation. Like, I got that, but he wants to make it right. You know, I just got a funny feeling those guys that battle adversity more times than not, the people that run from adversity. And there's a lot of scenarios that make sense. That's what I get worried about, because like Hunter's decision or any kid's decision to go places should be the springboard, not to have a great career all the time, but to have a great life. That's what it's like. I'm not here with the opportunity that I got to get a scholarship at Purdue. Like that put me in a different stratosphere with other people, especially being around Bruce Weber and being around Gene Katie and how much those guys have done for me in my career.